Hello students, the topic of today's class is non-odontogenic tumors. So in the last class I have been discussing about the odontogenic tumors, that is same introduction to odontogenic tumors. There we have discussed that the odontogenic tumors exclusively arise from the odontogenic apparatus and hence they are exclusively confined to the jaws. Now today we will be seeing about the non-odontogenic tumors. These tumors also, like odontogenic tumors, represent a large heterogeneous group of diverse diseases representing a formidable challenge to the pathologist because of their varied clinical and especially histological behavior or histological presentation. Although these tumors are not uncommon, but these tumors include a broad spectrum of lesions with varying degrees of malignant potential. So these tumors usually arise either from the epithelium or mesenchyme of wider varieties of tissues of the body, or they may originate from the tooth bearing areas, not from the tooth forming apparatus, in the tooth bearing areas, or they may arise even in the non-tooth bearing areas of the head and neck, or may develop in other sides of the head and neck apart from the head and neck. Now primarily these tumors, non-odontogenic tumors, are classified as epithelial tumors and connective tissue tumors. So epithelial tumors are composed of only the epithelium, that is either it could be the mucosal epithelium or epithelium of the skin. Now whereas the connective tissue tumors, again you have a subclassification of these connective tissue tumors, which includes a wider variety of tissues like bone, cartilage, muscle, blood vessels, etc. Depending upon the tissue involved, the tumors are named accordingly. Now these epithelial and connective tissue tumors, they are further classified into benign and malignant tumors. That is, you have benign and malignant counterparts both in epithelium and as well as in the connective tissue tumors. Now within the epithelium, so in between the benign epithelial and malignant epithelial, you have an intermediary phase known as pre-malignant lesions and conditions. That is a pre-malignant phase where the tumors are having atypical features, having dysplasia, and which are just near in future they might be chances to progress into a carcinomas or into malignance. Hence these intermediate staged lesions are described as pre-malignant lesions. But according to the recent years, there is these are referred to as OPMDs, that is oral potential malignant disorders. So this section will be dealt by the other staff as a separate entity. But today I am just going to introduce only about the benign and malignant, that is epithelial as well as connective tissue, leaving the pre-malignant lesions. Now these non-odontogenic tumors, again they are primary or secondary, that is, well, especially in case of malignant tumors, benign tumor doesn't have any secondary tumors. So whereas malignant tumors, primary in the sense the tumor where the site of origin is, that is called as primary tumor. Now secondaries means the similar kind of tumors may be seen elsewhere in the body, that like in the breast or in the lungs. So these are described as secondaries, that is secondary deposits of the primary tumors. Now these tumors tend to spread to the secondary areas by the process known as metastasis. So such tumors are called as metastatic tumors. This also we'll discuss in detail when we are discussing about the particular tumors. So secondaries means secondary deposits of the primary tumor. Now in the non-odontogenic tumors occurring within the head and neck, there is another category that is salivary gland tumors, which is again described, which will be again discussed as a separate entity as a salivary gland tumors. Okay. Now let us see clinical findings. Since there are very wide variety of tumors under these categories of both benign and malignant, So in terms of age, all age groups, right from the newborn infants to older people around 70 or 80 years, so any age group can be involved. There are tumors which are occurring exclusively in the new unit. There are certain tumors exclusively occurring in the older age group, especially carcinomas, which are most common in the older age groups. In terms of gender, most of the tumors are having a slightly male predilection when compared to that of the females. There are very few tumors where only female predominance may be seen, but on an average basis, most of the tumors are seen in male population. Now size, they may vary from millimeters, that is either it could be 0.5 millimeters, which are usually benign conditions, especially melanomas, ranging to several centimeters, especially if they are this larger group of tumors are associated with the malignancies, maybe either squamous cell carcinomas or verrucous carcinomas, which can grow to several centimeters of size. In terms of sites, any site of the oral cavity can be involved, that is all the sites, maybe the lips, buccal mucosa or alveolar mucosa, tongue, floor of the mouth, palate or soft palate, or even the oropharynx, that is the posterior part of the oral cavity, is also considered to be the site of involvement of these tumors. Or apart from this oral cavity, they can be seen on the skin of face or skin of the hands or body or elsewhere also. So any sites can be associated with these tumors. Now in terms of presentation, they can be just simply presenting as a small mole on the skin, that is especially the melanoma categories, or they can present as a simple color change, that is mucosal color change. Instead of pink color, there can be a pigmentation, or they can be a blanching, that is pallor of the skin, or they can be reddishness, that is erythema on the skin, or they may also present as soft tissue lumps, which may be either fluctuant or non-fluctuant, especially in like lipomas, which are slippery. So, or they can present as a swelling, that is hard or soft swelling, or they may be presenting as a growth on the cheek mucosa or on the gingiva, having a broader base or a narrow base, proliferative kind of growth. Some of the malignancies especially may present as a non-healing ulcer, that is a long-standing non-healing ulcer, or simply they might be presenting as neck masses, especially in case of hemangiomas. Now, as you might be knowing, the benign tumors are usually asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic. The malignant tumors also doesn't mean that all the malignancies are symptomatic. There might be some tumors which are asymptomatic as well. But signs and symptoms are slightly more progressive in terms of malignant tumors when compared to that of the benign tumors. Now diagnosis, in terms of diagnosis, definitely a thorough clinical history is the mandatory, followed by clinical examination of the tumors. And in terms of x-rays, the radiography doesn't have a very significant role in diagnosing these tumors, because of most of the tumors are non-central, that is either they are occurring either in the epithelium or in the connective tissue where there is no involvement of bone, especially excluding the bone tumors where the radiography may be an important. Otherwise, radiographs are not so significant in diagnosing these benign and malignant tumors. But to diagnose the secondary deposits of the primary tumor, sometimes the chest x-rays or the CT scan, especially the CT scan of breast or lungs, may be done just to check for the secondary deposits, to see any metastatic tumor deposits in those areas. Otherwise, x-rays doesn't have much significant role in diagnosis of these tumors. So as it is understood, biopsy is always a gold standard for the diagnosis of any kind of tumor. The final diagnosis is usually based upon histopathological examination, and hematological and H&E sections, that is hematoxylin and eosin stain sections, are the common sections that are generally used for diagnosis. So apart from those, there are some tumors which does not give a very easy scope for diagnosis just on the H&E stain section. So in those cases, immunohistochemistry is the one that comes into play for diagnosing the rare tumors or the tumors which are usually difficult to diagnose. So immunohistochemistry is nothing but protein markers which are used to identify the parent cell. Thereby the diagnosis can be simplified. That is immunohistochemistry. So at the undergraduate level, immunohistochemistry may not be so important, but just to have an idea, just remember that immunohistochemistry is done to diagnose for the tumors that are difficult to diagnose based on a routine H&E stained sections. Now treatment may be simply no treatment, that is especially in case of hemangiomas which are self-regressive, or in terms of keratoacanthomas which are self-healing lesions. So no treatment is necessary. To surgical excision, especially in case of benign tumors which are smaller in size, and radical neck dissection usually occurs has to be done for malignancies which are having tendency to spread into the local lymph node, the cervical lymph nodes or any other lymph nodes. In such cases, the primary tumor along with the associated lymph nodes are also removed during surgical excision, that is radical neck dissection. Apart from those, the radiotherapy or chemotherapy, which are usually the therapies done in older age group. Now let us see the classification. Now you have primarily epithelial and connective tissue tumors, and within the epithelial you have benign, malignant. So in between benign and malignant, as I told you earlier, there is a pre-malignant phase which will be discussed separately. Then under connective tissue, same, you have benign as well as malignant connective tissue tumors. Now let us see the benign epithelial tumors, that is squamous papilloma, papillary lesions, keratoacanthoma, oral nevi, versiform xanthoma and verruca vulgaris. Whereas malignant epithelial tumors, most commonest malignant tumor, that is squamous cell carcinoma, then followed by basal cell carcinoma, verrucous carcinoma, malignant melanoma, etc. Now under connective tissue tumors, depending upon the tissue involved, the tumors are named accordingly. So all these are fibrous tissue origin. So in those, under the benign you have fibroma, pyogenic granuloma, fibroepithelial polyp, giant cell fibroma, giant cell granuloma, central as well as peripheral. Again, central is discussed under bone tumors. Then malignant fibrous tissue tumors, you have fibrosarcoma, malignant fibrous histiocytoma. Then depending upon the adipose tissue origin, you have benign tumors like lipoma, angiolipoma, and malignant tumors like liposarcoma. Then based upon the vascular connective tissue neoplasms, you have under benign category hemangioma, lymphangioma, hereditary hemorrhagic telangiectasia, glomus tumor. So based on then malignant counterpart, you have hemangiopericytoma, hemangioendothelioma, angiosarcoma, cumulus disease, etc. Next category is bone tumors. So in this you have osteoma, osteoblastoma, osteoclastoma as benign, and under malignancies you have osteosarcoma and Ewing's sarcoma. Next category is cartilaginous tumors, and under benign you have chondroma, chondroblastoma. Then under malignancies you have chondrosarcoma, mesenchymal chondrosarcoma. Next category is nerve tumors. Under benign you have neurofibroma, neurilemoma, that is also known as schwannoma. Then neurofibromatosis, also known as von Reckling-Hassen's disease, and multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome, etc. Under malignant neural tumors you have MPNST, that is malignant peripheral nerve sheath tumor. Next one is olfactory neuroblastoma. Next, under muscle category, you have smooth muscle as well as striated muscle, that is skeletal muscle. Under smooth muscle, you have leiomyoma and angiomyoma under benign, leiomyosarcoma, angiomyosarcoma under malignant. Then under striated muscle, that is skeletal muscle origin, you have rhabdomyoma, granular cell myoblastoma under benign category, rhabdomyosarcoma under malignancies. Next one is lymphoid. That is lymphoid tissue neoplasms, where you have only malignant lymphoid tumors. Under this you have Hodgkin's lymphomas, non-Hodgkin's, Burkitt's, leukemias, multiple myelomas, etc. And last one is mixed tumor, which are teratomas. Now, before starting to read about these tumors individually, there are certain definitions and terminologies you people need to know. So in the the clinical terminologies are already given in the lab hours to you people, that is macule, papule, pustule and all these are already given to you people. Just go through them. And there are certain histological terminologies that you should be knowing. So if you know all these clinical and histological terminologies, it will be easy for you to understand the individual tumors and their behavior. Okay. So under histological terminologies, so this also you might be knowing: hypertrophy, hyperplasia. Hypertrophy, increase in the size of an organ just because of increase in the size of the cells, whereas hyperplasia is increase in the size of the organ due to increase in number of cells. Then conversely, you have hypoplasia, that is incomplete development of an organ or tissue, that is hypoplastic defect you call it as. Then atrophy, so decrease in the size of an organ or tissue that after complete formation, that is there might be the reduction in the number of cells or there might be reduction in the size of the cells, that is atrophy. Hyperkeratosis, thickening of the stratum corneum layer. So in this again you have two subcategories: hyperparakeratosis, hyperorthokeratosis. So what is orthokeratin, parakeratin, you might be knowing, I hope. The next one is acanthosis, that is thickening or widening of the stratum spinosum layer of the epithelium. Spongiosis is presence of intercellular edema, that is edema in between the cells. Then acantholysis is splitting of the cells within the stratum spinosum, that is acantholysis. Next one, dysplasia, which is most common one, important term. So irregular atypical proliferative changes in the epithelium in response to the chronic irritation or inflammation, that is atypical features of the cells that are seen within the epithelium. So there are many dysplastic features that are seen, which will be discussed in detail later. Then anaplasia means reversal of a highly differentiated cell into a primitive or undifferentiated, that is a differentiated cell is again modified into an undifferentiated or an primitively undifferentiated type of cell, that is anaplasia. Then metaplasia is a reversible replacement of one completely differentiated cell into another, that is for example like a squamous epithelial cell transforming into a glandular cell. Again the glandular cell can reversibly be transformed into a squamous cell, that is metaplasia. Now what is metastasis? Metastasis is a complex process involving the spread of a tumor or cancer to distinct parts of the body from its original site. So such process is called metastasis, and tumors under this process are called as metastatic tumors. Now carcinoma, sarcoma also you might be knowing. Carcinoma, a cancer arising in the epithelial tissue, and sarcoma nothing but a malignancy. So carcinoma is also malignancy, sarcoma is also malignancy. Malignancy of the connective tissues is described as sarcoma, malignancies of the epithelium is described as carcinoma. Carcinomas usually tend to occur in the older age, whereas sarcomas tend to occur slightly younger population. That is a small difference between carcinoma and sarcomas. Now other two terminologies like grading and staging, which are also peculiar to the malignancies only. Grading is nothing but depending upon the appearance of a tumor cell or resemblance of a tumor cell with that of the parent cell, the grading is done. So based on these features, not only there are other features as well, the malignancies, the tumors can be graded as well differentiated, moderately differentiated, or poorly differentiated. So this, in terms of grading, we can give it as grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. So there is a grade 4 which is known as undifferentiated carcinomas, which is described as the most advanced kind of carcinomas. That is about the grading. Now staging is severity are based upon the progression of the tumor, so which includes TNM staging. That is, T stands for size of the tumor, N stands for nodal involvement, that is the lymph node involvement, and M stands for metastasis, presence or absence of the metastasis. Based upon these features, T and M, the staging is done as stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 and stage 4, etc. Okay. So that is about a very brief introduction about the non-odontogenic tumors. So all these tumors, whatever features that I have been telling you, will be discussed in detail with respect to those individual tumors. Okay. Thank you.